I went around the Bear 100 and thought, this is awesome. I love running. I'm going to be able to just like go do my favorite thing, be with my friends, be in the mountains for a day. And I'm going to like, be freed from all my worries in life. And instead it amplifies it, right? Because you are in the depths of these places.
We're going to talk about our egos and how we are absolutely fully slaves to them in so many ways that we had no idea. And I got to discover that yesterday on my bicycle for 5 hours.
How was your race, Chair?
Well, actually, the real question is, what was it like for you to watch me cross the finish line?
You had to go there? You had to go there right now.
Yeah, what was that like?
So
I think the listeners want to know, after you helped me prep for the race and helped me at the mid-aid station at the beginning ending of Zen, I think they would love to know what it was like for you to watch me cross the finish line. Tell them.
It was so good. You were so fast. I didn't even really get to see you cross the finish line.
Oh,
because
you didn't see me cross the line.
Because I wasn't there. You were so fast.
Oh my gosh.
And can I just even tell you that phone call that you made as I was driving there? And you said, hey, are you here? And I'm thinking, please don't call me. Please don't call me. Please don't ask me this question. Hey, are you here?
I was 5 minutes done.
And I said, I will be in 2 minutes. Jen, I finished 5 minutes ago.
I finished 5 minutes. I'm hanging out with Paul right now.
And I said, well, you were fast. You were so fast. So yeah, you were so fast. I didn't even get to see you cross the finish line. I'm down here to see your race.
Here's the thing though. I'm going to give you a lot of grace because you probably haven't spent much time around any races.
Right.
Let's see, how many races have you done, Jen, in your life? Just go ahead and make an estimate.
Maybe 50.
Maybe 50. How many were 100-mile races?
6 of them.
Didn't you love how I was at the finish line of your last Wasatch 100?
Okay.
And your family.
Yeah.
And
so you're pulling,
angels heralded your arrival.
You're bringing in the shame.
Yeah.
And the ego.
Look, guys,
so your ego.
Let's talk about my ego. Actually, here's the funny part. Jeremy Larkin here and
Jen Lambert.
Bingo. This is the Unchained podcast. And as you may have heard in our little intro, the Unchained podcast is about breaking free of the emotional, relational, physical chains that hold us captive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And we've got a few of those.
Yeah.
Naturally, we just had Farmstead Bakery. By the way, the show's not brought to you by Farmstead Bakery, but if you want to go to the best bakery, I have a video on YouTube, Best Bakery in Utah.
Yeah.
Farmstead Bakery.
Yeah.
Chris Connors.
It really is. It was my first time visiting it today, and okay.
Yeah, now do you get it?
I'm going to come down to St. George just so I can go to Farmstead.
Yeah. Correct.
It's not about you.
It's not about.
Might be about Abby.
Yeah, it's about she's my kids.
Max, of course.
Yeah. Max the tripod. So look, I had an experience yesterday, and I earned my blueberry croissant today. So, and I want to talk about this because this is so fun. I was texting Jen. So Jen's done a lot of. She's an ultra distance, marathoner, what you want to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ultra runner and athlete and mom. How many kids do you have?
3.
Are there any that you might not be aware of? 3 that you know of?
3 that I know of.
Okay.
Pretty sure
it's usually the reverse. They ask the men.
Solid and static, yeah. So.
Yeah. Jen has 3 preteen and teenage daughters. I've got 4 kids. And a lot of folks are going to grab these episodes. I was about to call it an issue. I used to love to get Powder magazine, by the way, forever and ever, like 10 years I got it. And now I don't. But in this episode, if people pick this up midway, they're going, who are these people?
Yeah.
And as I think we've alluded to, we are human. We are exceptionally human.
Well, I love that. Our last line of our intro, right, is for humans by humans.
Yeah.
Because we're very human.
Yeah.
And that's really ultimately we're talking about the human experience. And I'm excited to talk about ego today because it was so fun as you were racing, getting your phone calls and your text messages and then seeing you at a couple of spots. And, when I was there at the Zen Trail the first time as you came through, you were not in a good place.
I was hurting, and we're going to talk through that.
You were kind of mad. You were kind of like, you weren't really enjoyable to be around, which is totally fine.
I was aggravated.
I've been that runner. You've seen me.
I was aggravated and aggravating.
Yeah.
I've seen you. I saw you at 1:30 in the morning at Brighton Ski Resort, and you had how many miles had you run at that point?
67, 68, 68.
68, and you were like, it was like you were in the boardroom. You were Trump in the boardroom, firing people.
Get me out of here.
Get me out of here.
I don't want
Somebody
that.
massage
Don't-
my hip. Give me electrolytes.
Don't waste any more of my time.
It was
Get me
really
out of the
kind of
safe
funny
station.
to watch, and I was
Yeah.
like trying to have.
So that was you yesterday.
And at this point,
Yeah.
the fun part is we were dating.
At that time, yes.
Yeah,
Not yesterday.
and the fun part about our relationship, which we're going to allude to, this will always be a thread in our podcast, is that we dated.
Yeah.
And then we decided that we're actually just exquisite friends and want to help each other build beautiful lives from a different perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you are an incredible race crewer. And I had this experience, guys, where I'm wearing my Utah high school mountain biking hat, my favorite hat I own. Thank you. In honor of this race yesterday. It's called the True Grit Epic. And every year, you've now learned. What happens? What have you learned, Jen, from my stories of what happens to the weather every single time they hold this race?
Oh man, it's crappy.
It rains, it snows.
It was watching the forecast gave me PTSD to the Boston Marathon because that race, the forecast can look great, right? And then just as the days inch up near the race, you just see the weather change. And so I've been in heat, 80 degrees with tons of humidity. And then I've been in 35 degrees with a torrential downpour where I ended with hypothermia, right? So I was watching the race because it started out perfect. And I thought, great, I'm coming to St. George.
At the time, it was like 72 and sunny.
Yes. And then just watched as it's, the rain starts to get closer and closer to the dates of the race. And I'm thinking it's going to be muddy and then it's going to rain the day of the course. And you had bailed the last time you attempted this. And so that's in the back of my mind thinking, is he going to bail?
I had bailed. So we're going to talk about the ego today and how my ego was on full display for who? For me. One of my favorite quotes that we talked about this week, no one's paying attention to you because they're too busy paying attention to
themselves.
Mm-hmm. But in my mind, I was having this whole ego thing. So 3 years ago, I was going to do the True Grit Epic. By the way, guys, this was 4 hours and 44 minutes on my mountain bike. I was just over 5 with total time, and there were lessons learned there, right, about being disorganized.
Yeah,
the couple of aids. Yeah. Well, I had one that didn't show up to the finish line. That's for sure.
Who would ever do that? Can't even
which is
bad planning.
Yeah, but that's a whole separate conversation about doing things for ourselves. Mm-hmm. The reality is I wasn't doing the race for Jen. I was doing this for me, right? Mm-hmm. So I was still quite satisfied at the finish line. It was no big deal. But 3 years ago, I had signed up for this event, and it rained so torrentially that we took off from Santa Clara Town Hall for those who are around St. George. And I want to point something out. This episode, and a lot of our stuff, we're going to talk about mountain bike racing and ultra running because this is who we are. Yeah. And we're going to talk about parenting
and skiing.
And we've got in dating, so many ways, dating, relationships.
Yeah.
Because again, relational, emotional, physical change. Okay.
Even spiritual. I mean, it's all connected. It's all connected.
It's all connected.
That's the thing.
So the year that I was going to race this, I rode 4 miles into the course. And for those who know anything about this, it was 43 miles yesterday. And you have an aggravation because they coin it as a how many miler?
50 miler. No, you can't call it a 50 miler.
It's 43. But it is hellaciously difficult. My buddy Jonna this morning sent me a Marco Polo. He said, dude, any one of those individual trails is a tough hour, but piecing them together for 4 hours and 44 minutes was a long day. All right. So I bailed that year because I rode 4 miles into the course and I saw people physically carrying their bikes backward, covered in mud, like 2 inches of mud. Mm-hmm. And I said, I left. I said, I actually don't need to replace my entire drivetrain. And so anyway, a week later, I rode it on my own and honestly was just as satisfied. Went to Santa Clara Town Hall, parked in the parking lot on a Saturday, rode the whole thing. It was like 71 and sunny that day, but I redid it yesterday. Okay. So should we talk about my ego, my little baby ego?
Oh, I cannot wait
to hear
about this.
Yeah, folks, if you think, well, I'm not egotistical, we're going to paint a picture today that I think every regular lay person can really sink their teeth into. Mm. Okay. So, and I took a couple of notes. And so I started too fast. So this is the first thing that I learned yesterday. I've done quite a number of races. I've done a half dozen of this time. I mean, I've done one that I was out for about 6 hours, actually. Never 30 hours, 24 hours like you have. But I've done quite a few of these. Okay. So they start the race. We're downtown Santa Clara, as you know. And because it was muddy, they were very smart. And they rerouted like 5 miles of paved road all the way through Green Valley, through Sunbrook Golf Course, and then we hit the dirt. Well, it's like I'm getting pulled along in the inertia of excitement.
You're in the corral, right? Like you start out there and you have to go with the pack. And I have a quick story to just insert really quickly.
I want you to insert it.
I had this exact thing happen to me anyway, it was several years ago when I was first into ultra running. And so I was doing the North Face 50K up in Park City, and they had put me in the second wave, and my ego kicked in when I picked up my race packet. And I said, no, I'm faster than the second wave. I should be in the first wave. So I put myself in the first wave, and because I didn't want to get stuck behind everyone, right? But so what that meant was that I was then getting pushed, and I was sprinting, and it was straight uphill because you're, at Park City Ski Resort, and then you're just running uphill.
Oh, I know.
In the
I
trails
pedal
up toward
that resort.
Yes, yeah, on your bike. And so anyway, I am being pushed, and the greatest gift happened to me because they ended up, because of like torrential weather that year, it was in September, and they ended up canceling the race because that race also was doomed. And so there was just weather every year. And so anyway, because of weather, they had to reroute the course. And so we got off course, and then the leaders of the race, we were going up one way, and then all of a sudden we had to like just beeline it down this hill, this ski hill, and then reconnect to the trail. And so we were like 1.5 miles, 2 miles in, and that allowed me to pause and just step off the trail and let my ego calm down and say, you're a total idiot. But honestly, it almost tanked my race because I thought, and my ego kept telling me, well, I can't get out of this line because we just started the race. And so I'm just going to have to keep up, right? No, I was redlining. You can't redline from the beginning. So when you put yourself in that, you kind of you have to go with the flow. You're being pushed.
Back to the quote, no one's paying attention to you. They're paying attention to themselves. Here's the funny part. I know the answer to this question for me, but I'm going to ask you a question. Is there any part of you in those races that's like, oh, people might know me, they might see me, I want to be seen as a person who's moving fast? Do you ever go there?
Sure.
Because I go there.
Sure, yeah.
And by the way, for those, you can kind of see us, we're on a podcast. I'm slender. I look like a fast mountain biker. I actually, interestingly, am a very average speed mountain biker, which we're going to talk about this in a minute about bike riding versus being fast. There's difference.
Yeah. Your kit, though, also made you look really
I had the most
legit
gorgeous
yesterday.
kit. I had the most gorgeous kit ever.
So good.
Thanks to my friends at Ostroy. They don't even know they're my friends. The most beautiful gear ever. So, that feeling? You're like, well, what if people see me? I kind of want to be seen as fast. So to your point, I should have pulled over. I get swept up in the excitement. I'm trying to be Mr. Fast. We hit the dirt at Green Valley. We're 5 miles in. We're like 20 minutes, 20 minutes. And we've just been, I didn't go back and look at speeds, but we were probably on mountain bikes, probably carrying a lot of that was carrying 25, like a pretty.
What? Are you kidding?
Yeah, it was like pretty fast paces to get to the, yeah.
Okay.
And I was swept up in it. Well, it was
that's
stupid.
Flying. Okay.
It was dumb. It was dumb.
I know enough about biking that I know that.
It was dumb. On a road bike, it's not impressive. And we hit the dirt. And one of the things that happened is I started to cramp very, very early. And I had not felt good the day before. As you know, I had an upset tummy and was probably pretty dehydrated, which we only thought about after, right?
Yeah.
Like you think I was drinking electrolytes Friday. So I come through and we ride all over what they call Green Valley, 3 big old climbs. And we get to the bottom of the Zen Trail. The Zen Trail all by itself is just a butt kicker, right? And I saw you and took a layer off and swapped a bottle and pedaled out. Well, I came back around, and in the middle of that Zen thing, a cleat comes loose on my bike, on my shoe, so I can feel my foot is like swiveling in my pedal. And I know that feeling. I'm like, cleat's loose. So I pull over.
Well, and you're the most technical. That's the most technical part of the trail. Like you
by
need
far,
to have
by
control.
far.
Yeah.
I pull over, and to get off my bike, I just cramped up. All my lower body cramps. And in my mind, I'm like, this ain't good. Because you see, that was 2 hours in.
Yeah.
I had 5.
Yeah.
5 hours. So I'm going, oh no. Anybody out there who's listening cramped? You know, when you first get a cramp in a long thing, you're like, oh, I'm done now.
Yeah.
And there's this feeling of like, oh no. But I've learned from some longer distances that if I can keep fueling, somehow I can stave it off. So I come through to see you, and I am like, so like, what's the word here? I'm like so almost distraught because you're like, how are you doing? I said, not well.
However,
I'm fully cramping.
Happy. You were actually so happy.
I was happy. I was having fun.
Something changed in you where you realized, oh yeah, I remember why I'm here.
Yeah.
So you did become present.
Well, here's what had happened.
Yeah.
There's bike racing. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I want you to put yourself into this story, our listeners, right? Do not ever think, oh, well, whoops, I got to zone it out because they're talking about biking or running or something. I want you to put yourself in the story, right? So I started too fast, ego. And I wanted to be seen in some way, ego. And you'd be climbing, and this is so much climbing. It was 5,100 feet of climbing. And I would be like, oh, feel someone creeping up behind me. I'd hear them and be so annoyed that, you know what I'm talking about, that I was getting passed. Guys, understand, I was never going to be in any realm of even competing yesterday. I knew for a fact I was middle of the pack. I didn't look, but I guaranteed I was probably of the 350 that probably finished, I was probably the exact middle 175th, I'll bet, right? I'm just a middle of pack guy. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, in
writing. In life, you're not.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Thank you. In life, I feel like I'm a little better. But I am. Here's what happened. There's a guy that rode with me most of the day because you yo-yo with the same people. Guy from Northern Utah, Ogden. And this is funny. I went down this little spot in the Zen trail that you've seen me go down. That I go down with my 17-year-old son and his buddies. And the guy says to me, he's riding, he goes, holy shit. Are you crazy? I should have filmed that. We're in the middle of a race.
I love it.
It was a side round. So here's what he said to me later.
It's really cool to see.
We see each other in Santa Clara. He says, you might be the best technical rider I've ever seen. You have to separate that I'm really great technically from I'm not fast.
Yeah.
So we get into the Zen trail and I start passing people. Passing. I'm passing them all because I'm like, excuse me, pardon me, going downhill.
Yeah.
Because I'm like,
that trail so
I know
well.
Guys, I have hundreds of rides on this trail. And then my cleat comes loose. And I sit there for almost 5 minutes. And then when I get off the bike, it's because I changed my position. I'm fully cramped up and people are just passing me. And I'm watching them pass me and my ego is like,
gosh, yes.
This is unacceptable.
I know that feeling. Oh, I know that feeling. This is painful.
This is right.
Yes, because I know it.
Which is delusional because I have no grounds to even be competing yesterday other than, to compete to win. I'm just there to race. Like a St. George Marathon, 6,500 people are going to race. Jen, I'm going to ask you, I want your opinion. How many actual bodies are competing in a marathon to win? 15 or 20 maybe?
100 at most.
Do you think there's 100 that think they're going to win?
Maybe 50. Oh, to win.
To win.
I'm thinking top 10.
No,
okay,
to win.
Right. 10.
Going out, maybe 10 of the 6,500 actually think they can win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you get my point?
Yes.
So I'm in my head. I'm cramping. I go back through. Fortunately, I'm fueling well. So I start up what's called the tank hill, and I go off the 3 fingers. And for those who mountain bike around here, the 3 fingers is just gorgeous. You just kind of drop off this face. Well, this guy's riding with me, and he sees me do a jump, and he's really funny about it. And we got to be friends. And I'm not paying attention. And I think the sign says, don't go off the fingers. So I go around and I take the B line, which is like a baby line. And I get to the bottom and I look up and I see people going down the fingers. Okay, it's cost me a total of 1 minute of my life. Yeah. It's a 5-hour race. 1 minute. Here's ego point number 2. The next 15 minutes of the race. Guys, I'm in the middle of the most beautiful terrain in Washington County. I told Jen yesterday I've ridden for 27 years. The trail I was on at that point has never ridden more smooth.
Well, I also want to say, insert where you're talking about how crappy the weather can be historically. It ended up being perfect, right?
It was most heavenly day.
So
I couldn't have even scripted the weather.
I call it hero dirt, but
brown powder.
yeah.
It's the equivalent, like skiers like powder, bikers like really tacky, smooth single
Yes,
track.
but it's just like a little bit damp, right?
Oh my gosh.
So it's not that hard.
Damp versus moist, right?
Yes.
Kind of more damp. Okay, I want to make sure
moist.
the term.
You just wanted to.
I just was.
Which
she
I
asked
don't
me earlier,
understand
could you
why
insert
people
that
hate
in
that word so much.
It's a
I'm
thing.
like, it's a descriptive word. What
It's
else
a
are we
thing.
supposed to use? Anyway, but perfect
couldn't be better,
conditions.
right?
And then like 50s, mid 50s. So if you're riding, if you're exercising, you
If
don't want to overheat.
if someone
right?
told me, if someone said,
you weren't cold, you weren't
yeah,
hot.
if someone said script the most perfect weather, I would say 55 to 60
Yes.
degrees, sun, no wind.
Yes.
AKA yesterday.
Yes. Yeah, there was no wind.
But-
and then occasionally the clouds would cover the sun. So then
But
you
Jen,
cooled off
where
again.
was I instead for 15 minutes?
Yeah.
I was like,
You were mad.
Why did I not take that
Yes.
line? Why did I not
You're
take that line?
replaying the past.
I was replaying the past.
The past that you can't change it. Now.
Absolutely
Can't change
absurd.
it right now. Yeah.
Okay, so I get all the way around the course and I ride the Green Valley, they call it the Loop, and Bear Claw Poppy Trail and Stooky Springs. And I get all the way out to Santa Clara and I stop at the last aid station and I swap my bottle and I do a few things. And, in the middle of it, I have to take a bathroom break. I just said that with emphasis. Do you know what it's like to take a bathroom break in the middle of a bike race? Camelback off. I was in a racing pack. Camelback off, jersey off, because I was wearing shorts that had stirrups over the shoulders. I'm like, this is not acceptable. So I take a potty break. I get all the way out there, and then I told Jen that I was in opposing traffic. I was riding in what's called the barrel roll. It's like the last 8 miles of the ride. I'm going up, and there are people coming down. And what did I tell you I was thinking as I'm seeing them come down faster than me?
Why am I not coming down with them? Why am I not where they are?
I'm like, that person
Why am I
looks-
not where they are?
Yes.
That
Hey,
is
this
often do we
guy
do that?
looks too fat to be going that fast. This gal looks too old to be going that fast. This person
That
isn't
bike
even,
is not even,
that,
like-
that bike is half as nice as mine.
Yeah.
By the way, all of these thoughts crossed my mind. By the way, I need to be clear about something. These are not judgments of the people. This was observations of bodies and bikes in a race and me thinking I should be faster.
Yeah.
By the way, they're all great humans. It's actually, the camaraderie is beautiful. Afterwards, everyone's high-fiving, as you know, the culture and hugging.
Well, and apparently they're great riders too.
Apparently they're faster than I am.
Apparently.
Apparently, there's a whole
get
story
to
about
that.
that video. So I am like going up this climb, thinking, what is going on right now? And then suddenly, miles later, I turned around and realized that the role had been reversed and I was coming down and then I was facing the people who were coming up. And guess how quickly my attitude changed? Guess what I started saying to the people climbing up as I was coming down? You got this.
Good job.
You got this.
Nice work.
You got this, man.
Keep going.
You got this, girl. Keep going faster.
Yeah.
This loop isn't that long. We're so close. Isn't this funny? I went from pity party me when I was climbing up and they were coming down against opposing traffic. What? This is crazy. That person can't be that fast. They don't look that fast.
Also, like you deserved something, right? Like you deserved
The
to
entitlement,
be some
Jen-
other place than where you were.
Jen, the entitlement, here's the crazy part. Do you know what we get in life? We reap what we sow. Doesn't the Bible, the Holy Bible, talk about reaping what we sow?
Nacho Libre? You put
Yeah,
that on
I'm
Nacho?
always going to reference Nacho.
Okay.
Don't you know it says in the Bible not to wrestle your neighbor? It's like my favorite line of the whole film. Do you know what I got yesterday? I got exactly what I trained for. If I look at the amount I skied this winter and the amount I trained for that bike race, which was 60 days. Remember when they were like, hey, welcome to the race. We're going to start
my
in 2
gosh.
minutes. They said, how long did you train for? What did the guy say?
6 months.
6 months.
And Jeremy's like,
2
how about
months.
2 months.
Yeah. Now, guys,
Now
some
you
of you
have
know.
a solid base.
Yeah, some of you
right?
guys know
so
I'm
you're
fairly
not going
fit.
from couch to
Yeah.
43 miler that's called 50 miler.
Yeah,
I'm just
that's
kidding.
5 hours.
Yeah.
Right. I wasn't starting from zero, but legitimately I spent 62 days is what the calendar told me I had
Okay.
when I started my grit training plan. I reaped what I sowed yesterday. I got exactly, Jen, have you ever been in a race where the whole time you were like maxed out and trying to figure, okay, let me back up. Have you ever gone to a race and somehow thought in your head that you were going to race faster on race day than you actually are? Because I've done it almost every time.
Oh, yes.
I mean, significantly faster.
Yes.
Like, oh, but it's race day. I'm going to be extra fast.
Yeah.
There is an egocentricity egocentrism. I don't even know what the word is. Maybe Blake and Mal can look it up while they're listening to me right now, recording this. In thinking that you're going to be faster than you trained for. It's so actually embarrassing.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, I have a race that is one of my favorite races that, and it's one of my favorite races because I had this massive come to Jesus with myself, right? Because of this very thing. My very first 100-mile race, I trained so hard. I trained my butt off. Like I deserved, and I was in a very different spot in life at that point.
Yeah.
So I had the time to do it and I had the ability, the focus and attention. But anyway, I trained so hard and I was so excited and I showed up to the start line and I took it easy. And then at the end, I threw down the gauntlet and I just ran hard. Mm-hmm. And I came in third place female in my first 100-mile race.
Which is a big deal.
It felt like a really big deal, right? And then everyone feels the ego, like, oh my gosh, you're so fast. Like that was amazing. And so of course, then in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to come back and do it faster. Well, then I ended up getting a job and our convention was the same weekend the following year. And I just thought I can't do this. And so anyway, 2 years later, 2020, I ran the Bear 100. My first was Wasatch 100.
Wasatch 100 is run generically what area for our listeners?
It is the Wasatch Front. So It's called the Wasatch Front 100. So it starts in Farmington and then you run all the canyons along the front of the Wasatch.
How many
up in
vertical
North
feet?
Salt Lake.
20?
And then 25,000 feet of elevation
I
gain.
want to just pause.
That's gain.
Okay, I want to just pause.
Over
Don't lose
100 miles.
don't lose track. Are you going to lose track?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
25,000 feet. 100 miles, by the way, is here to Beaver, Utah, St. George to Beaver, Utah, basically. Only insert 25,000 feet of climbing on your feet through like steep forest.
Rocky terrain and descents
keep going.
and everything.
And then the Bear 100 is where?
So that's from Logan to Bear Lake.
Okay.
So you run from Logan to Bear Lake. But anyway.
And
then,
not on the road.
And it's all trail. Yeah, it's all trail. So, amazing. Like I love this. Right? But so it's 2020. And I don't mean to, I'm not trying to pull this to me. However, it's fascinating, right?
This is a mirror. We're just mirroring right now.
But ultimately, this is applicable to life, right? And this is why everybody who knows me knows that my life analogies overlap in some way to running and fitness and, like moving the body, because we learn so much from moving the body. That's why I love the body. Anyway, a conversation for another day. But I run the Bear 100. And that 2020 was hard for everyone, right? Some people flourished. I think most people just came face to face with their realities and realized there are things that I don't actually like and that are really hard and that are not working. And so I had a lot of those in my own life. And so I went and ran the Bear 100 and thought, this is awesome. I love running. I'm going to be able to just like go do my favorite thing, be with my friends, be in the mountains for a day. And I'm going to be freed from all my worries in life. And instead it amplifies it, right? Because you are in the depths of these places. And so it's
because I want to wrap today.
Yes.
With why these things, the conclusion I drew yesterday about our learning. Keep going.
Yes. No. So you go into it and you think, oh my goodness, I can shut out everything. You can't. When you are in the throes of pain, when you are pushing your physical body, it is bringing up stuff. It is bringing up like stuff that's inside of you that you don't always get to see. And so I was in this deep like space. And then I did some stupid things in the beginning of the race also because of ego, right?
Yeah.
Ego and then wanting to be, I was running the race with my friends rather than I was worried about being alone, right? And so anyway, it caused me to make some stupid decisions. So in the end of the race, I ended up finishing that race. So my first race was my first 100-miler, Wasatch. Mm-hmm. It's harder than Bear 100, 27 hours, 17 minutes. My second 100-miler, Bear 100 in 2020, my heart was not in it so much. It was kind of like, oh, I should do this, right? Like I wanted to, but I wasn't totally there. 30 hours and I think 30 minutes. And so my ego started to say, oh, that shouldn't have happened. Because now instead of third place female, I think I was 20th, right? So 2021, I signed up for Bighorn 100-miler, and I'm so excited about this race. Like it's a race that I wanted to do. It's in Wyoming. It's like, Bighorn Mountains of Wyoming. So it's really rugged, really remote. It's like single track and it's intense. more than you think. You can't even just look at the elevation profile and the race course profile and understand how hard it is. So I'm in that race. I come into it and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to run it because I had this really bad injury prior to it. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to run it. Then I realize I probably will be able to start, but then I don't know if I'll be able to finish. And thankfully, like a week before, I think I'm probably going to be able to finish this actually. And so, and I go into it thinking, but it doesn't matter how I race because I'm just excited to be there and to run this race, right? And I've gone through this injury and technically I still was semi-injured. And it was like a debilitating injury that you couldn't really run through. And so anyway, I start the race and I feel so terrible the first 10 miles. Like it was weird, this dehydration. But then things start to come together and I come alive and I start running really well, right? I get to aid station 34. My friends are there. They're amazing. My friend Chris is like massaging my feet. He hates feet. I mean, he was like acting as Jesus for me. And it was a miraculous moment.
He was in a hazmat suit.
I mean, probably, sure. Yeah. And I've already got all these issues that are happening, but yet in my head, I'm thinking, but I feel so good and I am moving so well. I had made this fun friend named Rob from Colorado and we'd been talking about all this cool stuff because you just make friends with people, right? Life, they become lifelong friends. Yeah, it's amazing.
In the endurance events, you have these conversations.
Yes.
I've never done a 5-6 hour type mountain bike race where I didn't have long conversations in the middle with and this is like way out in where you're like, well, here we are. And then you start chatting with someone.
Yes.
And you create a friendship.
Yes. And then you stay connected after. Rob and I, we were just messaging yesterday, right? So at some point I'll get out to Maroon Bells in Colorado and we'll go do some cool stuff together.
I saw the Maroon Bells from Snowmass Ski Resort. They were beautiful. Actually, they were more visible from Aspen Highlands in January.
Yes.
Keep going.
Amazing. Anyway, so my friend picks me up. His friend was pacing me. And anyway, I think it was Andrea. But, and we get to the turnaround point at mile 46 or so in the race because it's an out and back. And I am thinking, so my ego kicks in at some point and I think, oh my gosh, this is going to be my redemption race. I ran Wasatch hard. I fell apart at Bear. And so I didn't run fast, but now I'm going to be able to come back and prove that Wasatch wasn't just a fluke, right?
So suddenly we've gone from, hey, I'm just happy to be out here.
Yes.
That little Jen's ego is like, do, comes onto the screen like, hey, Jen, you are really special and you're gifted and you're going to show everyone.
Yes.
Oh.
And they're going to be so proud of you.
My ego knows your ego.
Oh, I know.
They're buddies. I know you.
Yeah. This is why we're not dating.
Yeah. Bingo.
But I get to the turnaround point and I start coming back and no one is there and I'm not passing people. And I think, wait, so similar thing, but it was the opposite because it meant that I was toward the back. And so my ego started saying, I should be farther up. Like, what is happening? I, to this day, cannot even understand what triggered inside of my head and why I got so upset because my time was still fine at that point, but my ego jumped in and said, I should be passing people. That's what I do. Jen Lambert, I pass people the last half of the race. So why are there not more people coming the opposite direction into the aid station as I'm heading back out? And that tanked my race. It was so, well, and I was injured. Oh my gosh. But my mindset was so angry that my poor friend Andrea, I mean, I know that I snapped at her at one point. She was trying to get me to do something. I turned into this whiny baby. And I'm not usually that way. Even,
No, you're not. You're kind of a soldier.
Yeah.
I want to throw something out here.
Yeah.
If you look at me after I didn't get to go down to my favorite descent yesterday, and you look at the situation you're in, and this is what I want to invite our listeners into today.
Yeah.
I want you to consider how much we were not there.
Yeah.
We were there.
Yes.
But we weren't there.
Yes.
And the question I'm going to invite as we wrap up today, because one of the things we want to do, we've kind of learned on our first episode, is we want to invite our listeners to ask you we're going to give you an assignment every episode. Yeah. I'm going to insert it right now.
Okay.
I want you to ask yourselves, in what ways, because your ego is caught up in your life, Are you there, but you're not there?
You're not present. You are suddenly jumping somewhere else, right?
Yes, and specifically your ego. Not just, hey, in what ways are you not present? We all know that question. In what ways does your ego, your pride, your perception of the way things should be for you, which is a crazy form of entitlement.
Yeah.
I, Jen Lambert, you said, I pass people. I do this. I do that. Well, what happens if you, I don't know, get in a car accident and your legs don't work? Think of these questions that we would have to ask ourselves. In what ways does your ego have you not there?
Yeah.
So what did you do?
Well, so this is going to be perfect. So at some point I was coming around this river bend, and this course is so beautiful.
Yeah, you're like people would travel across the literally the planet from other countries to come see this spot. Okay.
I mean, I'm talking like river, you're following a river most of the course.
Yeah,
and then
heaven.
Evergreen trees, mountains full of evergreen trees. It is, and I love trees. I love trees. It is gorgeous. And so at some point there were these massive cliffs above, and I was coming around this bend and the sun was, up in the sky. And I had this thought, because I was in so much pain and I was still angry. Mm-hmm. I carried this anger for a long time. Why did I let myself carry this anger? Honestly, I carried it for 20, 25 miles. On foot, that probably equated to 5, 6 hours.
I was about to say, that's a long time.
It's a long time. And I was playing these stories of, I deserve this, and my life is so hard because of this and this. So I looked up at these cliffs and I thought, I'm in all of this like mental and physical and emotional pain right now. And I had this thought that came into my mind. Where would I rather be? And the answer was nowhere. Mm-hmm. I'm right where I want to be. Sure. And it was like everything dissipated. And I realized I'm in so much pain right now because my injuries were just arising. And anyway, and I'm in so much pain in all the ways. And yet I am exactly where I want to be. And I feel so much gratitude to be here, to see this, to be me, to be doing what I'm doing, to feel what I feel. And the next lesson that I learned was I haven't really had to like chase a time clock in a race before, which is you have to make it to an aid station by a certain amount of time. Sure. Otherwise you're out. Yeah, you're out. And so, but this race, the time they gave us was a little bit shorter than other hundreds that I run. And so I felt this pressure, like I was pushing against the time clock, right? And yet toward the end, I realized I'm one of those people that's like the back of the pack. And I championed being those people. And I championed being one of those people.
What a gift.
It was such a gift.
What a gift.
It was such a gift to realize everyone that I'm around, like, I am so proud of you for being here. And it was so cool to talk to those people and realizing I'm one of them right now. I am one of these people. And this is the most incredible thing. And I had this experience. I just have to share it because it was so powerful. I had 5 miles to go, and my tendonitis that I'd had of the extensor digitorum longus, which is just you can't even flex.
I knew you were going to say that term,
right? I know. That's the first thing that came to your mind. Everybody thinks
I'm
that,
like,
right?
Extension digitorum.
You can't flex your foot.
Did you say gingivitis?
You can't,
oh wait, that's something else.
Yes, you can't flex your foot. You can't point. I mean, like,
yeah,
hello,
that sounds horrible. By the way,
you can't step. I was thinking, I'm gonna crawl down this mountain. I'm gonna walk backwards, like all the things. I had 5 miles to go on this dirt road. And I sat down on this rock and I pulled my legs up to me and I just started sobbing. And I thought, I cannot finish this. I'm in so much pain. And my cute friend who was pacing me was just standing there like, I don't know what to do for you. This car pulls up, and this is why these things are so cool. And this is why we're doing this podcast, Jer. But this woman who is one of the race volunteers, she's a local, lives in Sheridan. Her name's Carrie, amazing woman. I'd met her at the day before, at the volunteer packet pickup, and had a bunch of conversations with her. A car pulls up right at that moment, rolls down the window, and I look up, and it's Carrie. And she says, Jen, what are you doing? She remembered my name.
Yeah, this is awesome.
She remembered how many runners? She's been doing this race for like 20 years. She remembered my name. Jen, what are you doing? And I said, I can't finish this. I'm in too much pain. I can't do this. And she said, yes, you can. You are stronger than you feel right now. You get up and you're going to finish it. And I said, okay. It was so crazy. And I just thought, I got up and I thought, that was an angel, right? That was like an act of God that just happened in that moment when I thought I can't do it. But so I want to hear about the end of your race tomorrow or yesterday at the end of this. But
yeah, because some of us were there for the finish.
I know.
Anyway, I was there.
Okay, fine. Can you do it again?
Yeah,
can you just do it again?
I actually finished again yesterday and almost got hit by some guy who was actually trying to finish.
That was funny. But I start moving and I think, okay, I'm going to finish this. But I'm still like worried about the clock. But the last 2 miles, I think, F this. I don't care about you, pain. I'm ignoring you. You're not driving me anymore. You know, the anger, the fear, the worry, the pain, you are not dictating how I finish this race anymore. And so I shoved the pain down and I took off running. And it felt like a 6-minute mile, but I was probably running like a 10, 11-minute mile on this dirt road. And
at which point would have been actually really fast. So
yeah, I mean, yes, I was at mile like 100. I think the total distance was like 104 miles. Anyway, and I ran those last 2 miles in, and I caught up with a friend who I'd done like 25 miles of the race with, Patrick from Park City, cool guy, and we finished together. And I caught up to him on this bridge, and I said, Patrick, come on, let's go. We have been in this fight together. Let's finish this. And I crossed that finish line, and I just sobbed, and I thought I just went through hell. I went through the highs of highs and the lowest of lows. And I came out and I learned so much about myself that day, about my ego and about being present and realizing it's all okay.
In episode 1, we alluded to, well, why do you do these things? Why would you go run 100 miles?
Yeah.
Even what I did yesterday, which was just 5 hours. These endurance events are a little microcosm of your whole entire life.
Yes, exactly. It feels like living a life in a day.
It is like so.
I want you to share. Man. So, Jerry, you went from this moment of ego, being angry that you missed the three fingers.
3 fingers. I'm like, yes. How did I not ride the 3 fingers?
Yes, your favorite spot where your ego's like, I am so good at this.
You know, off of that
people are already pumping my ego, saying, "Oh my gosh, you're the best technical rider I've seen." Right. And you're finally feeling, because we got some electrolytes in you, right?
Yeah.
And so you're feeling good. And when you left, when I last saw you, you were so happy. Like it was fun.
Yeah. Life was
you even said thank you. Like it was you were so nice, you know?
Wow.
Yeah. But then you go through this ego spot again, right? Of I should be there. Why am I here? But then you go through hey, I'm cheering everybody else on. But then what happened at the end?
So this is kind of a fascinating, I love your story you just shared.
Because guess what? I would have made it to the finish line.
Had I not sped up.
Yes.
And I'm going to talk about that. I want to say something about your story. When that Carrie showed up and you had 5 miles, that is the power of affirmation.
Yes.
Guys, like we don't realize how much impact we have on others. And one of the things that I fail in as a leader at the Larkin Group often is sometimes I will try to lead and drive from, hey, we need to be better and do all these things, instead of, hey, list my salespeople off. Here's what you're doing right, and you're doing right, and you're doing right, and you're doing right. Does this make sense? And
we need to see them. We need to stop, roll down the window, and say,
you can
hey,
finish.
What do you have going on? I believe in you. You can do this.
Yeah. Yes.
I know you can.
1,000%. Or and I want to add to this, or just to believe in you. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I actually believe you can achieve the thing. So I get to the end of the race. I'm like way into this. And there are about 5 miles left. Speaking of 5 miles. And here's what I want to really beyond the ego today is I was texting with my friend Colt Albrecht. Colt used to be a big time endurance cyclist. And honestly, like Colt will see that he'll see this episode. Love you, buddy. He got bored of it, quite honestly. Mm-hmm. The dude was a beast. Sure. He was a beast. But he messaged me this morning, how was it? I knew what he meant. Oh, he responded to my story. And I said, man, I turned the afterburners on at the end. And he said, the body is way more capable than we give it credit to if we turn off. Your brain has to say, I hear you're cramping, but we're going to keep going. To think that I was cramping 2 hours in And 4.5 hours in, 2.5 hours later, I had no right to be doing this well.
Yeah.
I said, I wonder how fast I could finish. And I sped up and I probably rode, I said 20. I'm going to guess I was riding 50% faster for the last 5 miles of race than I rode the entire event.
Wow.
Against all odds, both of my vastus medialis, by the way.
Ooh,
this is the muscle that starts right at your kneecap and then it runs across your quad. Both vastus medialis were cramping. My hamstrings were cramping. My calves cramped if I stood up in a weird position. And I dropped the hammer. And here's the funny part. I was so annoyed that I wasn't going to finish in 5 hours because I spent too much time at the 2 rest stops. Again, 4:44 ride time, 5:12 race time, right? Lessons learned. We learned some things. That's another episode.
Also, you need that flap in the back.
We want to engineer something called the flap for cyclists so you can squat in the desert. So, so I rode so ferociously that the people that I've been riding with for almost 5 hours, I saw a couple after and they're like, where did you go? And I told myself,
make up 10 minutes?
I estimated a full 10 minutes was gained in 40 minutes.
Yes.
Like I'm talking, and the crazy part was suddenly, here's my punchline. I no longer cared about anything else that happened in the event. I no longer cared that I didn't break 5 hours. I was so satisfied that I actually left it all out there.
Yes.
And the funny part is that guess what I would have thought an hour prior? That I had already left it all out there.
Yeah.
Your brain is way more powerful. One of my favorite books of all time is You're a Badass by Jen Sincero. And You're a Badass at Making Money. She's so funny. And you gave me her calendar.
Yeah.
Calendar, it sounds like a pinup. Not that kind of a calendar, a tear-off calendar. I'm like, she looks great in May. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Took a turn. That took a turn, didn't it?
You flipped all the way.
You're
through.
like, whoa, she's
whole
on like
year.
a Sports Illustrated issue? Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway. So I tore off 5 days ago. I've never changed the day on purpose. I've read ahead. I left it on. It's on my bathroom counter. Says your mind is the most powerful tool you have. Yeah. How about an unprofound profundity?
Yes.
Profundity. Could it be more generic? Your mind is the most powerful tool you have. And I will say that to your story at the Bear 100, to my story at the True Grit Epic yesterday. In what ways, I asked the question again to our listeners, is my ego driving the car, steering the ship, as they say? And how does that keep me fully unpresent to the magic? I'll leave you
realizing,
yeah,
I'm right where I want to be.
I cannot tell. Yes, I cannot tell you, Jen, how many times I traveled with my kids when they were young. We did a lot of Disney. That my kids would be acting up. My kids are like large now. My youngest child is 6'1", right? And I would, instead of be present to my kid who was 3 years old and crying at Disney, my only thought was what people around us thought of us. What are the moments I missed?
Yeah.
Because the ego was steering the ship. I was like, oh my gosh, what would parents think? And do you think any parent in Disneyland gave a damn about my crying baby? Nope.
No.
They were too busy dealing with their own.
Yes.
And I was more concerned with how it looked.
Yes.
Oh, okay, guys. Jen.
And others are thinking, that poor 3-year-old, they need something, right?
Yeah.
What do they need?
Like for me to get down face to face instead of, you need to stop. You need to do. Parents, can you feel this? Can you feel this?
Yeah.
Heavens, you and I talked about this. Have you done this with your dog, Theo?
Yes.
Yep. Isn't that funny?
Yes.
Jen said that she and Theo have an anxious avoidant trap going on. He's the anxious, she's the avoidant. We'll get into attachment theory on another episode. Yeah. He's adorable.
Yeah.
But I do it with sweet Max the tripod.
Yes.
Damn it, Max. Why are you following me all over the house?
Yes.
Why do you have to be right here?
But here's the thing here. I actually want to add this to this because this is important. Guess who we do that to also?
Ourselves.
We do it to ourselves. Bingo.
I knew it.
And I say this to my clients all the time. We innately are really like toddlers inside of ourselves, right? And the more we ignore ourselves, the louder we become. It's like that toddler that comes up to you and says, Mom, 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 Mom. And then we finally go, what? And we don't do that to ourselves.
Oh,
We need to stop.
I'm going to pull a Lewis House. Oh, wow.
We need to stop and say, and this is the power of this. When the ego is flaring, stop and talk to the ego and say, what are you trying to tell me here? Why did you flare up?
Oh, this is beautiful.
Right? Because there was a moment of insecurity that was triggered for whatever reason. And these moments are an opportunity for us to learn about ourselves and to really understand what's behind, things that we need to heal. Voices in our head that we don't even hear until something loud emerges, like 20 minutes of pouting that we missed a spot that we love, right?
20 minutes of pouting.
Instead of being angry that we have an ego, because an ego is actually a good thing. Like an ego is not a bad thing. We're not here to suppress the ego. We're not here to get rid of an ego. It can be a very good thing, but we're meant to have an ego. Why don't we become friends with the ego? Why don't we pause and look at the ego?
That is East Forest song, Grandmother Sphere.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah. What he said, I didn't transcend my ego. We became friends. We became teammates.
Yes.
He actually voices this.
Yes.
Guy lives in Escalante, Utah. I didn't transcend the ego. Because transcendent is like, I became Christ and just outsmarted it. Mm-hmm. No, we became friends.
Yes.
Guys, as we wrap up this episode, it's been so fun talking about the true great epic, the lessons of the ego, and the ways that I was in full. There's a Spanish word, esclavitud, which is slavery. After serving an LDS mission decades ago as a Dominican Republic, but then I obtained a degree in Spanish translation interpretation. There's certain words that actually have more meaning to me in Spanish. Esclavitud is one of them. Slavery. Uh-huh. How I was a slave yesterday. Thanks to my friends, you can't even see their logo on this shirt. Red Rock Bicycle Company, by the way, for getting my bike dialed in. They're amazing. And if you see this cool hat I'm wearing, if you have a high schooler, middle or high schooler in the state of Utah who wants to do one of the most incredible things that you could have them experience they could have, is I want you to check out UtahMTB.com. It's Utah Mountain Biking Racing Association. It's for high schoolers. They'll start these kids in middle school. It's called junior development. So both of my boys started at 7th and 8th grade. And so UtahMTB.com.org, I think it's both. But I just want to plug them. We have a platform here, and it has been one of the greatest things for these students. And the way they used to advertise it in St. George when they first started the team, they said, no tryouts, no tryouts, no cuts, no benches. Everyone rides, everyone races. So good. So good. Because the problem with your kid's football team, and this is sorry for football parents, is that there are 11 players on the field.
We do soccer. Yeah, we get it.
And guess how many are not? 30 more are standing watching. The training is great for them. The practices are great for them. The fitness is great for them. But if you want a really cool experience for your kids where they actually go out and ride in the desert 3 days a week for 4 months with the team, all summer long at 6 o'clock in the morning, not in a gym, out in the desert, I want you to check out UtahMTB.org or UtahMTB.com. Jen, how do people, if they want to chat with you and learn more about both your ultra running experience, your philosophies on the body, which is a whole conversation I want to talk about another day, or one-on-one kind of health coaching with you, how do they find you on Instagram?
Just Dandelion Runner.
Dandelion Runner. And if you're a real estate professional or somebody who wants to talk to me about kind of the way I view the world or growing your business, which is really about getting out of your own way, has so little to do with skills, at Jeremy Leon Larkin.
Okay.
Let's go take our egos out there.
Check our ego out the door.
Check them at the door.
And become friends with our ego.
Let's become friends with the guys. Over and out.
Awesome. Thanks, Jer. Fun. This is fun.
Pretty fun discussion.